In February 2011, a memo leaked from inside Nokia headquarters, written by Nokia's own CEO. One sentence stopped the entire tech industry cold. "We are standing on a burning platform." Nokia's stock dropped before the market opened. Every journalist in the world had the memo by noon, and everyone asked the same question. How did the company that once owned 35% of the global phone market end up here? Nobody asked the more important question: who lit the match? For most of the 1990s, Nokia was untouchable. By 2000, according to Nokia's own annual reports, 1 in 3 mobile phones on Earth was a Nokia. The 3310 became a cultural object. People dropped them from buildings, ran them over with cars. They kept working. Nokia didn't make phones. Nokia made trust. Then, in January 2007, a man in a black turtleneck walked onto a stage in San Francisco. Steve Jobs held up the iPhone and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." Nokia's CEO told reporters the iPhone was interesting, not a threat. Nokia sold 150 million phones a year. Apple had never made a phone before. What did Apple know about phones? Within 18 months, the iPhone had captured 30% of the smartphone market. Nokia's sales were declining for the first time in a decade. The story writes itself. Arrogant giant, disruptive startup, classic innovator's dilemma. Nokia saw the iPhone coming and did nothing. Except that's not what happened. By 2008, Nokia's board knew they needed new leadership. Someone who understood software. Someone who could transform Nokia into a platform company. They found their man at Microsoft, Elop, the first non-Finnish CEO in Nokia's history. He arrived in September 2010, confident, ready to fix what was broken. Almost immediately, he started asking uncomfortable questions. Why is our App Store 3 years behind Apple's? Why are our engineers working on 6 different operating systems simultaneously? The answers he received were careful, optimistic. Everything was under control. Everything was fine. It wasn't fine. In early 2011, Elop commissioned a full internal audit. What it revealed had been sitting inside Nokia for years, hidden in plain sight. According to a detailed investigation published by the Harvard Business Review in 2014, Nokia's own research teams had identified the coming shift in consumer behavior since 2004. People didn't just want phones that made calls. They wanted devices that did everything. Nokia's researchers called it a smartphone. They presented their findings to leadership. Leadership listened and went back to making the Nokia 6230. Because the Nokia 6230 was selling 40 million units a year, why fix what isn't broken? But here's what the audit also found. In 2005, 2 years before the iPhone, Nokia's engineers had built a working prototype. Large touchscreen, internet connectivity, a functioning app ecosystem. Nokia's management killed it. The official reason was market readiness. Consumers weren't ready. The networks weren't fast enough. The timing wasn't right. That wasn't the real reason. Nokia in the mid-2000s was not one company. It was 2 companies at war with each other. Nokia, the hardware division, and Nokia, the software division. The hardware division controlled the budget, the roadmap, what got built and what got killed. And according to the Harvard Business Review investigation, the hardware division did not believe in software. They believed in objects, physical things with buttons. So the touchscreen prototype was cancelled. The software teams were underfunded, and Nokia kept making the best hardware phones in the world, for a world that was about to stop caring about hardware. But even that isn't the full story. The Harvard Business Review interviewed dozens of former Nokia executives and engineers. What they described was a culture that made honesty impossible. Middle managers were afraid to deliver bad news upward. Engineers were afraid to say a project was behind schedule. Product teams were afraid to say a competitor's product was better. Because the response, consistently, reliably, was anger, dismissal, career consequences. So instead of telling the truth, they told leadership what leadership wanted to hear. Nokia's internal metrics looked extraordinary. because the people reporting the metrics were terrified of what would happen if they didn't. Nokia's leadership genuinely believed they were winning, because everyone around them was too afraid to say otherwise. Nokia had engineers with a working touchscreen prototype 2 years before the iPhone, and they couldn't show it to their own leadership because they were afraid. So they waited and refined and waited. And by the time anyone felt safe enough to say, "We have something here," Steve Jobs had already said it first. When Elop's audit revealed the full picture, he wrote the memo. For the first time in years, someone at the top of Nokia said what everyone already knew. And then he made the decision that sealed Nokia's fate. He cancelled MeGo, Nokia's own operating system. An operating system that, according to internal Nokia documents reviewed by the Financial Times, was technically superior to both iOS and Android in several key areas. Cancelled and replaced with Windows Phone. Microsoft's mobile platform. 3% market share. Nokia's own engineers called it, according to the Financial Times. A suicide pact. In 2013, Microsoft acquired Nokia's mobile phone division for $7.2 billion. In 2014, Microsoft wrote down $7.6 billion on the acquisition, more than they paid for it. In 2016, they sold what remained for $350 million, from 35% of the global market to $350 million in less than 10 years. Nokia didn't die because of the iPhone. The iPhone was just the moment the world saw what was already true. Nokia died because of a culture that made honesty impossible. The engineers knew, the researchers knew, the software teams knew. They had known since 2004. They had a working prototype in 2005, and none of it mattered. Because in a company where delivering bad news ends careers, nobody delivers bad news. And eventually, the bad news delivers itself. Which company today has engineers sitting in a conference room right now with something that could change everything? Too afraid to show it to their boss? If you want more deep dives into the stories behind the stories, hit subscribe.